So, when we're doing our yoga, whether it's yoga therapy or in a class, you're starting to allow the ecologies to speak to each other, the elements to speak to each other, and you're engaging maybe a little more with one, but that's going to affect another because they're dynamic. So, as we work with strengthening our identity, our fire, strengthening our physical body, then that's going to have a ripple effect into the water and that reflection of it. Hey there, Heartmind fans. I am so excited to launch into a new theme this week, beauty, and talk about this theme. This is a theme I often work with in yoga, with water, and in contrast, kind of in maybe wintertime, darker times, talking about a real subtle, amazing beauty that can be found in those meditative, quieter moments. But also, I do really mean this reflection of beauty and what we see and how we express ourselves. So I have interviewed my hairstylist who, from the moment I met her for a consultation, really reminded me of my yoga in relation to how I style and how I approach my appearance in a very yogin way. I told her, I believe you are a yogin, the way that you're thinking and the way that you philosophize around hair. And so I'm so excited to bring her wisdom and amazingness to this podcast and start to talk about the evolution of beauty over time and how we approach ourselves and our appearance. And so let's settle in. Grab that cup of tea, or maybe you're in the car, but settle into this theme and this idea and come with me on first episode on the theme is healing and why that might be important and how we might do that through the lens of yoga, breath work, and meditation, philosophy, Eastern philosophy. So, like I said, beauty is something that I work with in the element of water. So, this is a reflection, beauty is a reflection of maybe what we're feeling and sensing inside. And it's relative and it's authentically going to be different for different people. So, it starts here in the water chakra where it's often put with creativity. I tend to put it in the Manipura in the fire chakra, but with the water chakra, it's that reflection and that truth. Those are two big processes of the water. And the truth reflecting out, the truth of who we are, that's beauty. And it reflecting out to the world, our true selves. And that includes, how we want to be seen with our appearance. And that can obviously be influenced by culture, obviously, and by tribe, by fitting in. And there's a relationship there. So it's not like you're not living in a vacuum, obviously. And so there's this dichotomy relationship between external, internal reflections happening to search for a sense of beauty and reflecting beauty of self to the beauty of the world, right? And so I often start with water, but to put it into action and to be brave and have the courage enough to stand in that beauty and create the beauty through action. That might be going to a mentor, going to a beauty stylist, having the courage to express that beauty like on a podcast or in your workspace or with your partner or on a date with a potential partner. To express that beauty with courage takes action. You have to get maybe ready for the date, you have to get ready for work, and it takes that time and effort to do that. And in a way, it does require you to look at the self, the ego, this particular vehicle, and say, what do I want this to be or look like? And of course, we again are not isolated and we are given certain, um, canvases to work with it. But then what are you going to do with that canvas? Right. And that's the individual self expressing, which is Manipura, and creating action of that representation and reflection of beauty. So it's kind of like a combination of our water fire energy coming out and being expressed, and having the, again, courage, but also the wisdom to allow that to unfold. And that's one of the things that Doris and I talk about a lot. Part of the healing is surrendering. That's in water, surrendering to the flow of whatever that evolution of beauty wants to be due to those external circumstances. For example, being a mother and being a mother of 2 children born within 19 months of each other. There was like 2 years where I just really, some people might say gave up, but I decided consciously, slightly unconsciously, like that wasn't going to be a big part of my life to, you know, put my energy and effort in that realm, in my appearance. And there was this kind of sense of gaining a little weight. Of course, that happens with that, and process of giving birth and recovery from postpartum, recovery from that process. But it was also a little bit insulating myself and starting to withdraw from that effort to engage and present myself. And it's not only till recently, maybe a year ago, maybe a little less, that I've decided consciously to take a little bit more effort again. And for so long, I had been visioning and asking and wanting some guidance in that, a mentor, if you might say. I love mentors and I seek it in different realms where I want to grow. And I was really looking for a mentor with my hair, for example. And that's when I found Doris. And it was something that I really wanted, was someone to help me find my identity through hair. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. And that's that Manipura again. It helps us feel our identity and express an identity. And not that that can't change, not that that can't morph, but having that can be very, very healing. It can help us, again, feel the uniqueness of our individual self, which some of us feel that might be stripped by demands of, again, society, culture, family. I remember having beauty standards as a teenager in all those directions and trying to look like the perfect girl, the perfect woman. Eventually, I'm thinking about when I'm 18, 19, not quite almost a woman. And those demands were making those choices of my identity probably more so. And of course, I was searching and seeking, but it didn't ever feel really fully like myself. And part of the reason sometimes when we have, again, some trauma or we're not supported or nurtured as much as we maybe needed as children is that we're more vulnerable to those beauty standards, and that can lead us to eating disorders, lead us to a deep self hatred, um, into basically with Manipura, coming back to that, to one of the extremes. In yoga, there's rajas, which is a lot of movement, manic energy, if it's in excess. And that could be like, I need to look the best, be the best. I'm going to do all this work, like extreme excess of work to look as well as I can. And then, and there's a little bit of that I am the best and I need to represent that. And I am, like, in some cases with writing, it's like, I am a god, I'm so awesome, you know? It's that kind of manic place. Whereas the tamastic, the more lower energy, heavier energy that kind of stops you in your tracks, is like, I am ugly, I am worthless. And we ping between those two when we're trying to find those beauty standards, oftentimes. And it can lead us into those excesses of trying to balance ourselves out with, again, eating disorders or depression or high functioning anxiety. And it's definitely reflected in how we present ourselves and how we choose to present ourselves and the tasks that we take on daily to present ourselves and beautify ourselves. I mean, gosh, I've never been in the worlds of modeling or even, film acting, but the standards that must be put upon them is extremely high. And we do know there's a lot of mental health that can happen, mental health detriment that can happen through those processes. And so yoga is a process of discovering ourselves through ourselves. And it's really about, there's whole systems, and I'm not going to go too in depth, but it's about uncovering Maya, uncovering ourselves, and the stripping away of those standards, and or learning what we want and discriminating what we want with those standards and what we don't want with those standards. And the uncovering of our own beauty, really, to ourselves, for ourselves, through ourselves, for ourselves. And when we do that for ourselves, we are contributing and reflecting that out to the rest of humanity, but also out into the world, into the elements. So that's one of the major aspects of yoga and what it teaches. And when I talk about elements, obviously I'm talking about the energetic body. I'm talking about the chakras. The meridians are elementally based. And some of you have followed me and are with me on that. And some of you this might be really new and you're like, what is all this water, earth, fire stuff? And that's okay. But really, beauty becomes a mirror for our energetic ecology. I'm going to say that again because I think that's what I'm getting at the height of this is beauty is a mirror of our energetic ecology. You know this, I know this. When I started yoga, my posture changed. And I did have a sense of holding myself and holding the beauty of being me with more grace, more consciousness. And that happened over time through yoga practice, both physical practice, but also the self-inquiry practice and deep diving into my mind. So when we're doing our yoga, whether it's yoga therapy or in a class, you're starting to allow the ecologies to speak to each other, the elements to speak to each other, and you're engaging maybe a little more with one, but that's going to affect another because they're dynamic. So as we work with strengthening our identity, our fire, strengthening our physical body, then that's going to have a ripple effect into the water and that reflection of it. And like I said, both of those centers and energetics hold this sense of creation and creative energy. And then that feeds us and makes us more, um, gives us more vitality. And once our body and our minds are a bit stronger, we can dive into those deeper depths of the subconscious with feminine conscious breath work. I can't tell you how many times I've been with clients, and again, it does include going into those darker spaces, into the subconscious, but how many times we've had those tears of beauty, of just recognizing the beauty of being in a particular experience, their journey. And it's because we are really able to receive the holistic beauty of being human. This happens with breath work all the time. And it's one of the reasons why I'm just dedicated to the process and to it, because I get to experience it, but then I also witness and support others going into that type of vibrational experience. That really, right now, to be in this body right here, wow, that's incredibly beautiful. Even as we go into the pain, somehow we do find those nuggets or those gems of beauty. And so to start healing beauty means to start surrendering to yourself and that evolution of yourself, which sometimes dips you into a place that we might call ugly. um, and then also to start resisting some of those standards. Often the standards are in very excess manipura, excess fire, where it burns out all that ability to reflect any authentic self, because it's just burning that out with comparison. And then you have no sense of authenticity because it's someone else's standard or someone else's way of being beautiful. So it burns out your ability to reflect your own inner authentic beauty. That's competition as well. So comparison and competition is often where we're at with our beauty standards, and our ability to create an identity for ourselves. And unfortunately, it really is destructive, which is one of the things that can happen with excess fire. And that just means that you're burning out your own ability of creative energy, really, and to be able to access that more fluid capability to find and reflect your own self. So my outer appearance changed a tiny bit, but really beauty is not about changing the outer appearance, although it could be. There is a relationship there, of course, and we'll talk more with Doris about that. But it's more so about creating creative energy. It's more so about healing how we see, feel, and interact with the world. That's healing beauty. And this, for me, always happened intimately. It starts very intimate, and understanding or being interested in the beauty of this body, this system. And that's the power of yoga, too, is that we ask you to go inside. And I invite you to, if you could, do this now, but next time you're on the mat, just going inside and taking that deep breath and feeling and noticing, and witnessing, seeing how the body responds to that breath, expands and contracts with the breath. That in itself is just a minute or a microcosm of the beauty we can experience and know and feel every day. It's incredible. It's beautiful how the body breathes. And so I can't wait to share with you. That's the healing episode for today, for now. And I can't wait to share with you Doris, because she really helped me see this and feel this with my own evolution, with my hairstyle, but also the conversations that I have with her are so rich. And she has her own story about why it's been so impactful for her and a healing process for her to create through hair, her own and others. So I can't wait to share with you her amazing words and thoughts next episode. And then after our conversation, I'll have another episode around transforming, a little bit more that masculine, challenging ourselves to grow through beauty. I hope you travel well. Enjoy your yoga, enjoy your prana, your life force, enjoy your beautiful, beautiful self. I'll see you next time. Namaste.